Hello, and welcome to Last Attempt, a World of Warcraft Guildcast. I'm your host, Squirrelthug, and with us today we have a guest, Vel. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Pretty good. Thanks for asking. And joining us once again is Shakatan
Yo.
and uh, another longtime host here on the show, Templrivanho. What's going on, man?
Yo, what up?
All right, so today we've got a bunch of things to cover. Mainly, the race world first is off to a great start, uh, but there are only I think 7 bosses available out of the 9 for this tier. So it's already come to a short end quickly, a little bit quicker than most people expected. But a lot of people are speculating that the last 2 bosses are going to be very difficult. So we'll see. We'll see what comes out from that. We've also got an amazing story about a Neuralink patient who's playing World of Warcraft now, using just their thoughts, which is incredible. There's some details in that story that we'll go over, and we'll cover a few more things in World of Warcraft news this week. I want to start with a bit of a round table like we normally do. Let's start with you, Val. What have you been up to in World of Warcraft this last week?
This last week, basically just mythics. Haven't really done much else. Now that keystones are out, anyway.
How high have you pushed?
I've done a 10 now.
Nice.
Did it yesterday. Hit Keystone Master yesterday before I went to work, and then the one of the guys that I plugged into a group with asked if we all wanted to do his 10 that his key turned into, so we went ahead and did it.
Nice. Okay, so you've already got that. That gives you a portal, right?
Yes.
Cool. Great. I think I did a few Mythic Zeros, but my rogue underperformed quite a bit. So I switched over to leveling my druid. So I've just been doing that, and I'm gonna have that before this next reset, and then I'll be in Mythics with that one, grinding up. Hopefully, it gets tens pretty soon. And Shagatan, what have you been up to this week?
Pretty much the same. I've been doing M pluses, a lot of them with guildies, and last night Pathran and I got into a 12 that we timed, and that was pretty sweaty.
How close did you time it?
I think we had a few minutes left still. It was a Magister's Terrace.
Wow, that's pretty good
I'd
then.
have to check on Raider.io, but I think we had like 2 or 3 minutes left still.
So it wasn't a close call, but it was tough.
Yeah, I mean the interrupts, you're using your whole kit. Everybody's using their whole kit, especially with, depending on what gear people have. I think some people are still under 260 right now, so just makes it intense.
Is it all interrupts, like all spell casts that you guys are trying to negate, or are there specific ones that need to be looked out for?
Specific ones that need to be looked out for. In Magister's Terrace, you got to watch out for the polymorphs. Which just, the healer can usually dispel them out of it, but it's better just not to get hit by it, just to take somebody out, like in a big pool or something that you're doing. Just a lot of magic going on in that regardless, because it's all casters and stuff, but pyroblasts and stuff like that definitely need to stop those things.
What's your tactics so far? Are you just mainly focusing on those casters first and just getting them down so you always have them targeted?
Yeah, usually I like to go on casters first. Usually they're a little bit squishier, and as soon as you can get one of them down, then that means you can move a pack to something else as well, to more melee mobs that the tank is going to be able to handle a little bit easier. So it just kind of keeps progress, like, moving, alongside with just having, huge packs. The tank that we were with did a really good job of because we weren't in Discord or anything, voice chat. So he would ping the map, of where we would stay, and he was really fast at like getting a whole room and pulling it around a corner, and then I would use, like Ring of Peace and stuff, and kind of just keep on like bouncing them in that corner. I think we had two. I think we had two monks in that run, I believe, if I'm correct, and so we could just bounce. I've been doing it quite a lot with other monks, bouncing mobs in between two Ring of Pieces, so then it can never do anything.
Okay, so you're negating a lot of casting with something like that, and you just have a lot more crowd control than maybe last
Right.
season.
Yep.
That's pretty good.
It's been fun though. All the mythics that we've been running with guild members have been a lot of fun. I know Temp has been at quite a few of them. We've been running quite a bit, so
Yes, sir.
I'm sure he could weigh in on that.
Yeah, so you as well, you just been diving into the Mythics Templar?
Yeah. For us, we were doing just a ton of keys. Probably, I mean, it was me, Shaq, Daddy, Stram, for a little, or actually most of it, I guess. But we were just doing keys back to back to back, and probably did at least 10 yesterday. Just having a lot of fun, and also learning the pool numbers, where to go, how many to get, and stuff like that. A little bit of growing pains, but uh, just dishing out all the damage as a prot pally. It's just a lot of fun, and intense as well. And of course, like you said, went through normal raid, through the Void Spire, as well as Chimeras. We uh, slammed that, cleared it, went to heroic Chimeras on, what was it, uh, Wednesday. Unfortunately, we didn't get him. Got him down to about 3%. And unfortunately, he ate one of the ads. So that means he went from 3% back to about 17% HP. So that's the closest. Yeah, that's the closest we got. But we did go on Thursday into Void Spire instead to get the first couple of bosses cleared Imperator, and we were on Mr. 1998 Godzilla, and got close to him as well. But the damage check on him, like Chimeras, is just massive. So unfortunately, we were close, but no cigar on that.
Okay. That's so as you were explaining Mythics. I want to go back to that because everyone seems to have had quite a big run on Mythics this last week. It's probably fair to say that the responsibility for Mythics is usually on the shoulders of the tank, and you only play tank. So how's that experience been for you with having to learn it and basically take full control of the dungeon?
It's been easy. I would say last expansion, especially during I can't remember if it was season one. I think it was. That was particularly more punishing, especially for a prod pally. The biggest reason is that since we are a tank that uses a shield, unlike a prot warrior who also has block rating, and block has a chance to mitigate damage. Unlike a prot warrior, we don't necessarily have the ability to have a constant shield on us. However, as the War Within went on, it got easier. They did, some buffs, some changes to make things easier. But coming in for Midnight, they had a solid adjustment for us. I know Shaq mentioned a lot of like magic damage and stuff like that. For us, that means that they changed it so that our mastery and our block rating, our physical block rating, let's say it's 30%, um, it's actually doubled for magic damage or magic abilities, meaning that it would be a 60% chance. And it would also block more of that, more of the damage. So it's the changes with that, as well as the ability for the Templar hero talents to just go in Avenging Wrath, immediately Divine Toll to get the Templar Shield, and the fact that the normal Avenger Shield also puts a pretty hefty shield on us has been really great, really effective, and just having the ability to have Consecration once you lay it down, and let's say you have to run away from it, whether you're kiting or just going to another mob, the effect of it stays for an extra 5 seconds as you run out of it. That change was made during the War Within, but them keeping it, it's just a lot more defensive and gives us a lot more room to effectively tank. Unfortunately, like I said, in the past, it just wasn't really viable. We were a lot squishier, uh, especially during the beginnings of each expansion. So it hasn't been as bad as it's been in the past. So I've been really enjoying it.
Okay, so if somebody wanted to tank this season, they should probably do it with a paladin.
Yeah, I would say Paladin has been like, if you're starting out, the couple things I would say is first, focus on not necessarily pulling a lot or even necessarily going to some of the guides and seeing like through mythic dungeon tools, you need to pull this many mobs and do this. I would say sort of get the feeling of it, the idea that you have, first of all, we're not as limited on cooldowns anymore. We have both two charges of Guardian of Ancient Kings as well as Ardent Defender. And you can use those relatively liberally, especially since whenever you use Avenger Shield, the amount of people that you hit or the amount of enemies, it helps reduce the cooldown on Guardian of Ancient Kings. So I would get used to being in the hero talents for Templar, um, uh, pulling with Avenger Shield, laying down a consecration, uh, and then either going in and immediately divine tolling, or just practicing and getting the feel for the idea that you're not necessarily going to block all incoming damage all at once, and our health can be a bit spiky. I know I've heard in the past that people have always like complimented me, like saying that I'm used to other prot pallies like through pugs not being very good, or not being able to stay alive, and a lot of people apparently who play don't realize that you also heal yourself through Word of Glory, and you can use your uh, holy
So
power.
just very underutilized by other tanks.
Exactly. And so the idea is you get up to 3 holy power, you use your shield of the righteous that gives you armor. That'll help with the physical attacks. And then as you're going, you can build that charge from, I believe the default's 6, it's either 4 or 6 seconds. You can then use it again, and it can stack up to about 12 or 16 seconds. I can't remember off the top of my head. Um, but then if you have that buff, you can then use the rest of the holy power that you're generating to heal yourself through Water Glory. You also have the Divine Shield Bubble Taunt, and even just remembering the fact that Avenger Shield interrupts ads, doesn't just help you, but it helps everybody else. Because then, if you have a caster that maybe got away from you or isn't didn't follow you as you're trying to pack them all together, you can use your Avenger Shield to interrupt them. That'll drag them closer to you, and you can do it again and again until they're right by you and stuff like that. So um, I guess in general, it's sort of a learning curve for all tanks. But I think for Pally, since you have that spiking of the health bar, and you might sort of freak out, you might not realize just how many tools you have to tank and how to use them. So just getting used to that, I think, is the primary thing to learn, and you can kind of go from there.
Just put everything on your bars and push all the
Exactly.
buttons. Okay. Yeah, so that will probably be very helpful for anybody who's going to try to get into tanking for mythics with some paladins. I have a paladin tank, and I'll probably be leveling that up pretty soon, maybe next. But it's interesting that paladins are in such a good position, as you're saying, yet the race world first, the winning team, basically Liquid, right, who's gotten most or if not all of the world first for Voidspire. I think somebody else got Chimeras, I'm not sure, but the tanks that they brought are a Guardian Druid and a Protection Warrior, which I thought was odd because, as a lot of people have been talking very recently about the last two updates, or the last two hotfixes, and for the classes, the Guardian Druids have been, in everybody's opinion, nerfed. And I guess they were in maybe a really good spot before, but now they are struggling with gaining threat and such. And as you were saying, there's some things that like the protection wearers don't have. But they decided to bring those two classes. You guys have any thoughts on why they would bring that combination there, Shaq?
I mean, maybe for, gosh, honestly, I don't know. According to Archon, feral tanks are C tier. It kind of, I don't know, to be quite honest. I don't know
They got a
too
lot of
much.
survivability, though.
They
I
do
think
have a lot of survivability. I mean, so does a paladin as well. But I mean, right now, Brewmaster is considered S tier across the board.
Yeah, which they
Maybe
did not
because
bring
there's
one of, right?
right. They're bringing a lot of healers. They're bringing a lot of Mistweaver healers. I saw in their raids.
I think they had two.
You know, at one of the fights they had like 4. They
That's
had like
crazy.
a whole bunch of yeah.
They had 2 hunters and at one point and 2 mages. And so they were like class stacking some of
Right.
those more powerful, higher DPS ones. You've seen some mages and hunters, right? Like hitting some ridiculous numbers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know why the ranking, that's like the Archon ranking. Sometimes I wonder,
Well, they run generic simulations, right? Like broad
um,
simulations to get those numbers.
no, they're looking at the all the what keys all these classes are doing. It's all
Oh,
aggregated
so okay. So
from
it's from
Raider.io.
anybody who's actually like submitting data. Just from the data
Right,
set from the
right.
current
What the
season.
max key was, how popular that class was, and that that number of key and whatnot.
And I imagine how they perform.
Right. Prot Paladin, is up there. As far as like from 7 to 17 in Mythic Plus, they're second. They're like right behind the Monk. And I think they're in a good spot. I don't know why they have them ranked as C on their score. Maybe there's a lot of Prot Paladins out there, but the ones that are maybe play their class a little bit better are kind of shining right now.
Yeah, I would say.
I don't know why they chose to do druids though. But go ahead.
Oh
Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say the as far as the Guardian Druid, their damage output was just huge. And while I can't speak for M plus, I do know that for raid it was just a lot better. I mean, the nerf that they had to do to them was so bad that they started losing threat, and unable to keep that up. As far as Prot Warrior, my understanding, especially with just the way it works, Ignore Pain is an incredible ability that you can just, you know, you don't have to be constantly spending rage on, say, anything that helps increase your block rating. I forget what the main one is. I believe it's shield block, but again, I haven't even touched Prot Warrior since Legion with the what's it called, the mage towers. But ignore pain, just being able to dump all your rage into it, and it just keeps making a shield that's bigger and bigger and bigger, and you don't have to do anything about it, is an incredible cooldown and ability that it's always utilized heavily during raids and everything.
Okay. And Vel, you play Demon Hunter, right?
Yep, sure do.
So were you melee or the mid range spec?
The mid-range one, Devourer.
Okay, so in the race world first for Liquid's team, they had brought 11 range and they'd only brought 3 melee. Do you
Yeah,
think that it's a lot easier to be ranged during
it
this
is
raid?
much easier to be range in the Voidspire raid. For one, you got the last boss in Voidspire. You can't really be on her, hitting her in melee range, especially as a demon hunter, because like you have melee range, but there are some melee classes that have a longer melee range than other melee classes. Havoc has a short melee range, so as a Havoc demon hunter, you're not really going to be able to hit that boss. The moment you hit Fellblade into Illyria, you're going to get sucked into that little void circle at the center and die to it.
Yeah, I in the fights that I was actually fighting Illyria, I was on my rogue and it was an outlaw rogue, so I have grappling hook and I'm able to kind of move around a bit with that, but even with that, there's a lot of moving and a
Yeah.
lot of time that I'm not hitting the boss.
Oh yeah. And that's one probably one reason why they went with the Devourer Demon Hunter, because you can the entire time you're casting, other than your Void Ray and your Collapsing Star, you can cast while you're moving everything you've got. So it makes dealing with Illyria and all her mechanics that much easier when you're able to keep on running around the whole arena while you're casting.
Yeah, that would make it a lot easier, I imagine. Next time I get in there, I'm going to be on my Resto Druid, so I think I'm going to enjoy the freedom of movement once again.
Yeah.
And the next article that I wanted to talk about, or the next news item that I wanted to talk about, was the music video that was released very recently. It was actually posted by Blizzard. I know there was a very recent um, use of Blizzard's IP by a rapper. He's like a Canadian rapper, and we had talked on here about it briefly. And there was actually an interesting update to that thread. He was given a cease and desist from Blizzard, and I think he had even posted it or something. The wording in the cease and desist, I think, was amusing. It's something the way that it described how much Blizzard IP like content that he had like without permission on his website was like, I don't know, they used some word, but it was like ludicrous or something. Like they were almost offended by how much of their assets that he just grabbed. So it seems that he perhaps maybe went to their website and just kind of pulled all the images and pulled all like whatever it is he could and built his his artist's website basically like Diablo. So it just looked like a Blizzard IP thing, but it was of course had a bunch of his CD information in there or his album information in there, and he
Was
used a
this
lot of that
post?
imagery. And what?
Was this post him making the song with Blizzard?
Yes, he was served the cease and desist after. But that's the thing
After.
is, I don't. I so there was no news of a cease and desist or anything when that article came out about the song that he had done, and it had been at least like a week or so, and there was nothing
Hmm.
said. And so I was assuming that there was some level of collaboration, perhaps not openly in the public or that everyone saw, but it's just Blizzard didn't seem to be like taking anything down or taking any action. So it was like, okay, well this seems fine, but perhaps they are just moving a little bit slower with Microsoft and making maybe the pipeline is a little bit longer, and they just have more. levels because they're attached to Microsoft now that they have to go through for something like this. And so it was interesting to see it come around that he didn't actually have permission to use those assets, but
Hmm.
the letter was specifically for his website. It didn't mention his music video at all. And so perhaps he was just vague enough with what he was doing in the music video to not um, get something for that. But I didn't really follow up with that part of the story and see if he got anything for that because he was basically portraying Deckard Cain, I believe, in the music video.
Okay.
Like that was who he was, and he's like, I think the
Stay
song
a
even.
while.
Yes, I think he did that too. But I believe the lyrics and such and like the perspective of what he's saying in the song is from like Deckard Cain's perspective, or it's supposed to be.
Hmm.
So I only listened to it once. I didn't really like it, and so I kind of moved on and was just like, all right, we'll talk about this. But it's just interesting to see that it worked out in that way. So I'm not sure that there was really any collaboration there, and they kind of just used it without permission, which is interesting. But this one, on the other hand, was with an artist named Aurora, who I've never heard of before, but this is actually not the first time that she's done something with video games. There was another game. It was either I believe it was maybe a mobile game, and she made a song for that, and then they featured some of her music in the game, and then they had like seasonal content. They had like a season of Aurora in the game, and it was like a bunch of stuff related to her. And so
Huh.
this isn't like a new thing for her. So she's very used to, I imagine, like working with game companies. But the animation, there was a GameSpot article that had mentioned that the animation studio that had done it is a French-based 2D studio, and kind of there was a few other people that had put this together, and so I think normally I would have expected Blizzard to kind of do a lot of stuff in-house or use one or two studios, but over the course of everything that we've been seeing and those hour long narrations, there was three of them right before season one or midnight had launched, and there was a story for each of those were each written by some author, right? And then they were narrated by the voice actors and actresses that had played those people. And then we have the animation that went into that, but there wasn't any credits for that, so maybe that was like internally Blizzard. Um, but there's just a lot of media that we've been getting, and for example, the coming home one, right, with the housing, where the rogue was fighting the void creatures and then got the crown and then came home, and you can see like the canyons and such, and like from a realistic perspective how big they be, and that was done by like a completely different studio, right? And so it's just interesting to see that Blizzard has so many sticks in the fire right now, right? And they had
Hmm.
talked about they had been working on that song for months at this point. And so it's like they were, she's of course excited to release it and talk about it or whatever. And I've listened to the song. It's great. And the music video, absolutely
Yeah.
wonderful. I don't
Is
even
that a music video or a trailer for their series that's going to be coming out soon?
right that was a lot of the conversation around that was people were saying I would watch this if this was a series, which could be an opportunity for that studio. I think it's Brunch Studio, who had done
Hmm.
that, and it could be an opportunity for them to get this contract. Or maybe they give it to somebody else and they have, somebody else do the 2D animation on that. But it was beautiful either way, and I, I'm not even an Alliance main, but I do know some of those quests, and it was really interesting to see this sort of player perspective once again, right? Because the coming home
Hmm.
was player perspective, and I think the first introduction into the player perspective meta in the media that Blizzard has released has it comes from Hurricane, the patch, for the classic patch trailers that guy was making. Those are always from the player's perspective. And so Blizzard seems to have like picked that thread up and really ran with it, and that's quite a lot of their media as it is right now. So I think that's like really cool. What did you guys think about the music video and the story and the song even? Um, Templar, I know you're a real big Alliance player. How did you feel about it?
I thought it was awesome. The first thing I will say is the animation is beautiful, and it's that 2D slash 3D uh, cell shaded style. And I know, like, if you've watched anime in the past and you've seen sort of the evolution between 2D animation to 3D animation, and then sort of when they tried to combine it, initially it really didn't look all that good. It was more uncanny valley than just using, say, normal 3D. Whereas nowadays, especially in regards to this animation, you really get the true melding of the two, and it's really, really neat to see it. And I know, like you said, like the conversation was about seeing a whole series of just a band of players going through the content. Um, that's immediately what I thought. The first time I saw it, that's immediately what the first comment I saw was on it. And I think it would be really cool, to have a sort of, not necessarily that we, whether Alliance or Horde, have to be uh, the heroes, like, for example, that we were the ones who killed the Lich King. I mean, seeing sort of the side stories and what those are, because I mean, we got King Saladar, who was essentially just a quest text or a quest giver in Burning Crusade. Then he went into Manaforge, and we had him not only as a boss, but a major character and a major part of World of Warcraft, more in general. And then we see him again here, and we finally, uh, get to kill him. And we also finally see where they had that stop motion animation with the drawn pictures. I'm not exactly sure how you would describe it, of Xalatath tempting and bringing him back to her. So, you know, there's a lot of just things that are in the Warcraft universe that we either don't know, don't see, or could just explore. I would just love to see it. And seeing the Alliance, like you said, just I loved it, and just excellent all around.
Yeah, so for it's really interesting that they had this story that they were kind of like telling. Um, Vel, did you have a chance to listen to the music and watch the music video?
I did, yes.
How'd you feel about it?
I loved it. I mean, but coming from a guy that played through all three of those expansions, it was beautifully done. The way they did the Dark Portal in the video, the way they did Illidan, the way they did Arthas, all of it was just, it was beautifully done. Like, even because you don't, when you're like during the fight with Arthas in the game, like he actually, everything you saw in the video actually happened in the game as you were fighting him.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest, like the coolest part about the angle that they've taken on
Yeah.
these things.
And that's part of why I liked it so much, was because everything that you saw in that video was stuff that potentially actually happened to you while you were playing the game, if you played the game in that era.
And then at the end, they tied it all back into player housing, right? Like they're all
Yeah.
inside somebody's house and they're having a beer, whatever, right? And I I think that this is also, there's a very intentional purpose in the way that this was designed and animated, and like what the storyboard on this was, because it does seem that Blizzard is trying to just show players like this is a place that you can stay, is like a third place, right? Except instead of being in physical location, it's some digital place, right? But that's what they want. They want to make sure that players feel that they can like be here in this world for like most of their time, you know,
It's not
which is
just the
very
adventures, right? It's not just the adventures
Yeah.
that you go on, but it's also the people that you meet and the friends that you make, you know, to hang out with and continue those adventures.
yeah, definitely.
I
I
think
mean,
that's a lot of what this video was about. Was not just the adventures, but the people you're going on the adventures with and how you meet those random people.
yeah, they
Right.
had
Like the Yeti scene, you know?
that
The Yeti scene
was
is
perfect.
great.
Yeah.
And
The
then
Yeti
the
scene was
alien was
on
tagging
point.
along
Like
at
that
some
was
point. They probably you could assume they picked him up just to run through dead mines, right? And then he stuck around.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I feel like whatever it is that you kind of assume, like, oh, like, well, she must have started here and then went here, and then that's why she was there. And I've been a night elf, and I've been in that, and when you go to that cave with that yeti, you find out real fast.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's I thought that was really interesting. It was really cool to see it from that perspective. I really hope that if they do some sort of animation, some series, right, or even a movie, that it does really follow closely to the player perspective, the player experience, in the same way that the Dungeons and Dragons movie recently, last few years ago,
Oh yeah.
it tied the moviegoer experience into the Dungeon and Dragon player experience. So like as a player, the things that you would experience in a typical game where there's some things that are a little ridiculous and some things that are just a roll of the dice, right? And some things that are suspenseful, like all of those things, they were able to do it really, really well. And I think that's a lesson that I feel like they're listening to. Like I feel like somebody had pointed that out to somebody in Blizzard and was like, "Oh yes, no, they did a really good job with that." And that's the same thing here that we're doing, one for one. So we'll take that approach. And they've been, it's been like player experience forward with a lot of their media.
Yep.
I
Yep.
would say they've just been player focused in general because long or it's been how many years since Shadowlands where they had the opinion that they not only know what's best for us, but our cries aren't how do I put it not necessarily valid, but we don't know what we're talking about, and just trust us. You don't want this. Um, and as they shifted into Dragonflight, they realized just how much of a mistake that was. And of course, we talked about the presentation that Ian had made at the Game Developers Conference, where he said that if he had given it pre-pandemic, the difference between what he would have said then and what he was saying now, and just how much the involvement of the players and the involvement of you know really understanding what we want has not only changed and made things better for us, it's made things change and better for them as the actual people who make the game and get paid for it and everything. So it's just, I think, and this is even before Microsoft involvement and everything, but it's I think a very good, not just a sign, but a good thing for everybody involved, from the creators down to us as players.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to talk about the music side of this. This wasn't just like an Aurora song that she had written, and then they were like, "Hey, let's see what you got," and yeah, we'll use that one. We'll just smash it together, right? This was something that it seems probably initiated by Microsoft, maybe, or funded by them, obviously. But Blizzard had hired Brendan Williams. He had co-written the song, and I believe they probably worked in collaboration with Aurora to do that, and it was another person named Laura Intravia, and they're a vocalist, a game vocalist, video game vocalist, and composer. and known as Flute Link, apparently. And their credits include Destiny, Mortal Kombat 11, and a video games live concert tour. And and then Brendan Williams is a freelance game composer and an ex Riot Games senior composer. And so these people have experience in the industry. And there was a post where they were speaking about kind of getting this project and then like inviting Aurora along. So it seems that they were sort of set to be in charge of this, and they had collaborated. They reached out to her to collaborate on this song and this animation and everything. And it seems like a large team had like brought this together, right? And you have experience in sound production, QA, and such. Like, what's your perspective on kind of the work that went into putting this together, the audio, and how you feel about the quality of the song as it is?
To me?
Yes, Shakatan. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was done very well. I think her vocal, like her style, really fits. I think alongside with, it's not quite full on like Blizzard music, but it's got that flair. It's got the hint of it. But her vocals are very northern, I wouldn't say like Irish or like Nordic. She's got a little bit of that going on in her vocal, which I think is great for the fantasy type setting. um and uh and the song in general, for a place to call home. um I think it was done very well. And it's pretty awesome that you know that that they're going outside their range now to add in, people from different areas of expertise and popularity. I think it's a good push for Blizzard to to bring other people in that maybe normally wouldn't. Maybe they do play other games. She has, like you said, I think she had done some game work before. So, and obviously these other composers that worked with Blizzard's internal music team have done quite a bit of game work as well. So, bringing
She's
some.
got a lot of album sales, so one could imagine that maybe some of her fan base is now curious and interested in this game.
Right. I think it's a good move. I think it was done well orchestrated. you know.
Definitely. And we're going to get to a little bit of this later in some of the Microsoft section, but in thinking about the animation that they had done here, if there is, let's say, if there's somebody who's going to host that show, my bet would probably be Netflix, because a very recent partnership had been signed by Microsoft and Netflix. Netflix is opening up a free tier. I guess it's in response to dropping subscription numbers. So, like, there's a lot less people subscribing to Netflix now, and so they're opening up an ad-supported free tier, and they're partnering with Microsoft to, I believe, maybe take care of the ads on the ad-supported section of this. I'm not really sure what the technical specifications of Microsoft's position on this is, but they have partnered with Microsoft in order to launch this new plan for Netflix. And so it's really interesting to see maybe how that's going to tie into the Xbox experience, because the next Xbox is going to be a PC, and switch over to this sort of like console version, which I believe Microsoft right now is offering that sort of Xbox kind of UI to Windows users in the coming months. And so people are going to start to have access to this sort of new Xbox version, this gaming thing that they're doing, and they want to be like a media center. So, like, kind of partnering with Netflix starting now with this thing, it makes sense. I think there's going to be a lot of overlap with these companies in the future, and if there's going to be somewhere where we get our media at, it's going to be Netflix, for all of our WoW content.
Yeah, definitely. I will say it's interesting you bring that up. I know there was a recent anime that was announced, and it's based on the Japanese form of Rakugo, I believe it's pronounced. Long story short, it's sort of an ancient storytelling form that's gaining recent popularity. But what was the most interesting was that they were not confirming like what streaming platform they were going to be on. Uh, Supposedly, the reason being that they wanted to reach as big of an audience as they wanted to. But hearing that Netflix is wanting to be having a completely free tier versus, say, a reduced price tier with ads, which is what they currently have. Yeah, I would definitely say that Netflix would be the primary, especially since Prime Video, you have to pay quite a bigger price every month, just to have it without ads, and you're already paying for the Amazon Prime, so, you know.
Yeah, for some
Netflix also
people,
has a.
go for it.
I was just gonna say Netflix also has a pretty prominent anime listing there,
Mhm.
compared to a lot of the other streaming services. So I think it would be like a go-to. It would be the proper thing to do.
They had funded some couple anime, right? A couple times, like some like Netflix originals.
I believe so.
Yeah.
A Castlevania, maybe.
Yeah, they've done a bunch of the video game ones, Castlevania. I think I'm not sure if they did the Devil May Cry one. I know there was the recent Splinter Cell one, and from there, there's a few other ones where I'm not sure how much they were interested or were really involved, rather, in the production, but at the very least, they were, only on Netflix here in the U.S. and stuff. But yeah, they've been really teaming up with a bunch of different companies. I believe it was Titmouse Animation that did a bunch of those.
Okay. So I want to talk. Let's move on to the next news story, and I want to talk about the Neuralink that was implanted in someone. Well, I believe he's the 18th person to get one. He's referred to as patient like 18 or something. Um, this guy has a video about like showing him navigating through the world. He seems to use like the click to move. So he just clicks somewhere in the world out in space, and then he just moves to that location, right? And then he's like moving the mouse around and clicking on the bars. So it's not like he's got several keybinds that he's like overlapping and functioning with it, right? It's really just kind of like the movement of like a mouse and clicking. But even that is pretty impressive because I believe he's already raiding. There's like reports that he's like leveled up and then he's like jumping into raids with people and doing stuff, and it's pretty impressive to do all that with your mind. And I don't know. I just think that's incredible. Vel, did you get a chance to take a look at any of that stuff or see it on X?
I didn't get a chance to see it, like any post of it. I have any social media posts. I have read the story of that guy. Um, but from what I've seen, like from the story that I've read of him, it looks quite incredible. Like just the fact that he's able to even play the game just using his mind.
Yeah, there was a recent.
It's just it's mind blowing.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely incredible. There was a recent interview with the first person to get one of these, and it's interesting that in such a short time from that, which was late last year to now, there's already been 18 of these patients who've been picked from the list. You had to have applied, and the first guy to get this, um, he was paralyzed from the neck down, and he had a long form content or podcast with Lex Friedman, and it was really interesting to hear him just kind of like talk about his experience. And kind of what he was going through with the engineering team, because each one of these, it's like there's a full engineering team attached to the patient, and just like constantly like tweaking things and playing with things, and stuff happens. And I think even there was a point in the first patient's story where he lost complete control of, like, there was like something that he had control of before, and it sort of diminished his ability of what he had already gotten. And miraculously, they were able to like go back in and like fix certain things and such. But each one of these people that's doing this is like a pioneer for the future. And there's not even like a point in the near future that anybody could even predict when this would be anywhere close to a consumer model. Mind you, a lot of other people are thinking that while this is really good for research, being able to get these really tiny tendrils like hammered into your brain with like a little tiny pneumatic hammer. It's really interesting how they do it. But this is really just to get in there and get data and get research. And what we as like consumers would get in the end would be a sort of like headgear unit that's able to like pick up those waves of brain waves and such, and kind of do things with thought without having an operation. But that kind of just makes what they're doing incredibly important. And it's just really cool that there's one of these patients that's basically playing WoW now, and will probably continue playing WoW. So it'll be really cool to just kind of just see how that plays out. You know how that evolves. Because once you start playing WoW, you can't stop. That guy's stuck forever. And what is that? What else does he have to
Yeah.
do? He's not going to play any other games. They all suck.
Right. And also into other things, since it's, tapping into the motor cortex, uh, being able to utilize that for uh prosthetics, let's say, or robotics, right? Where these people are possibly going to be able to walk again, use arms again, completely using their mind, just like they would, pulling tendons and stuff on their muscles, right?
I mean, that is the plan for, I believe, there was also like an interview with a large portion of the Neuralink team, and they all had a lot to say. And it was 7 hours long, I think, was that
Oh,
podcast,
wow.
and it was incredible. It was obviously filmed in separate sections with each of these people, but each of them, had like a couple hours to talk about it, and just the amazing things that they're doing with this is incredible. But one of the plans they have is to kind of get this implant in there for some of these people, right? And be able to pick up as much information from that motor cortex as they can, and then transmit that across whatever is like broken, whatever is not working, to the other side, to somewhere on their spine near the top right, and then just kind of relay, right? That, like, it just bridges the gap, but
Right.
electronically,
Right.
without having to go in and do some crazy surgery that you probably are going to mess up, right? Like, you don't have the tools that are fine enough to go and do surgeries in those areas and not cause crazy scarring and other things that are just like not going to work out. So it's incredible what these people are planning on doing and how like the future looks. And if they ever come up with a consumer device, I might use it. I might be one of those people. My hands aren't going to be great forever,
None of us are.
So I wanted to talk about the race to world first again, going a little bit more. I know we covered some of like with their class roles and such, and what they did, but like more of just the whole experience. Did anyone have an opportunity to watch like the whole thing?
I
Because it was only
didn't get
three
to
days.
watch the whole thing. From so Tuesday, I went into a heroic split with Liquid, and they know what they're doing.
Nice.
um, but from what it seems right now, anyway, I know we talked about this earlier, but the two bosses that are in March on Quel'Danos, even Blizzard said that those two bosses are going to be harder, and that's where the race to world first is really going to be challenged. for
I've heard
lack
the
of a
same
better
thing
word.
from Max, Maximilian. He's got several videos out, and he knows that they're going to be tuning
Yeah.
those last two pretty rough.
Oh yeah, and you think about it too. Like, I mean, in Midnight compared to previous expansions, even the War Within, Season 1, at least the Mythic side of Season 1, started much later. We had 3 weeks to gear out our characters before the Mythic Raid and Keystones even came out.
Yeah, there wasn't any Mythic Plus.
Like there have been people talking about how how Mythic Pluses are so easy right now and so undertuned. Like, they're not undertuned. You're just already geared in 250 to almost 260 item level, and the cap is 289 this season. Like,
Yeah,
of course Mythics are going to seem easy because you're already at the item level that you would need in order to do a 6 or an 8.
yeah, you gotta push them. Gotta push that number up. If they're too easy, just keep going up.
Yeah,
That's what the
exactly.
scaling is for.
Right. Some people didn't like the staggering of how they opened the season up, but it did help prepare people a lot more for going, full into the season.
Did you have a
Oh
smoother
yeah.
season like week 1 of the Mythic Plus, like than
I
last?
think so. Oh yeah,
Oh
I've
yeah,
hit
much smoother.
several tens. I got like a 10 on the first day. So it's like, wow, okay.
Okay, that's pretty
I
cool.
also like that the raids are split up this time around too, because you look at how many guilds, how many teams have completed the entire race to world first so far. You got, at least last night, you had 3 teams that already had 7 out of 9, or yeah, 7 out of 9 bosses down. By the time Tuesday rolls around and they start going into March on Quel'Danas, it's no longer gonna be an item level issue. It's not going to be a gearing issue. It's going to be 100% skill based. It's going to be the team that has the skill that's going to be able to get March on Quel'Danas down before the others.
Yeah, that's a real.
And with
At
that
least the
being
way it seems.
Mhm.
right, well, with that being said, Max has also stated that they're going to be doing come Tuesday. Team Liquid is going to be doing Mythic. What you call it? Where they're just
Splits.
gearing out.
Mythic Split.
Yeah,
They're
they're
doing
gonna.
Mythic splits. Yep.
Dang, already. Got to get
Um,
that gear.
Oh,
Yeah, and they're gonna give it like probably at least that whole day first. Even if some of the other teams are getting to that last boss and they're about 50%. He said like he wouldn't be too worried about it. He thinks it's gonna be that difficult, and that doing the mythic splits will help them in the end, just to get that upper hand rather than going straight into it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool that and Liquid can pull that off, right? Because they've I don't know how the other guilds, what kind of support structure they have, but I know that for North America, a lot of people are like Vel here, right? Like willing to go in and feed gear.
well, and a lot of it too for Liquid, from what I've gathered over the years anyway from Team Liquid, they like, each of their players has 40 different characters that they level up before the race, and they spend their entire days gearing out those, like, however many of those characters. Like,
It's a
they level
job.
up, yeah, they level up like 40 in the first week or two,
That's
and
crazy.
then the next week they're gearing out, and it's all based on what RNG is. Like, so it's World of Warcraft. Your gear is entirely RNG based. So if you've got 10 characters that are getting better RNG than the other 30, then you know what 10 characters you're going to be putting into the mythic pool for when they actually get into the mythic raid. So, like, that's why that's why Liquid has so many splits going on, like why they have so many heroic Voidspire splits going on, because they've got all these different characters that are tuned. That's why come Tuesday they'll be able to do mythic splits, because they all have 10 characters that are able to go into the mythic raid and feed 5 people all the mythic gear from the raid.
And then they can handpick like exactly
Yeah.
the most geared ones and just run that.
Yep. And that's more than likely why they went with a druid and a warrior tank, because more than likely when they got in by the time they got into mythic, those 2 tanks were the most geared out of the tanks that they had.
That makes sense. Yep, they would have parsed higher, right? That's why they
Yep.
had more healers, or was it like more DPS, right? And less healers this time. Their just healers are just doing really good.
Like, obviously you're gonna have one of every class just for the class utility, like the priest for the stamina buff, demon hunters for the magic debuff that where everything they hit takes extra magic damage, that kind of stuff. They're gonna have one of every class. But the one, like, there's 13 classes and you got 20 slots for the raid. Those other 7 slots, they're going to be based on who's got better gear.
Yeah, that makes sense. Makes sense that they would do that. I mean, and it shows, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, they got world first for quite a few of those bosses.
Yeah, they got world first. They only didn't get it on the first one, I think.
Chimeras or
No,
Vizier?
the first one in Voidspire.
Okay. Yeah,
Because some
they
random guild went into Voidspire and killed that when everybody else was doing Dream Rift.
nice. Got the world first. Let's go. That's the way to do it, right? This has always
yeah.
been a 3-horse race from the beginning, right? Because there's 3
Yep.
different lockouts, and so this has been a really interesting race to world first, and then they got them done pretty quickly. Because once Liquid kind of pulled ahead, they just kept that lead, and then they just maintained
Oh,
it. They
yeah.
were the first one to initiate, and so I kind of missed the whole thing. I thought it was going to go on a lot longer, and so I came in coincidentally right when they pulled Illyria for the first time on Mythic. And so I was like, oh, hey, this is pretty cool. And then the announcer was kind of going crazy. This is the first pull, like the world first pull on Illyria Mythic. And I was like, oh, they're in phase 2. This is the first pull. They're in phase 2. And all of them were saying, oh, this goes down tonight. Like, no matter what happens, like, regardless of what mechanics are in this so far, like, this boss dies tonight. And it did.
At the same time, they also seemed kind of surprised too at that. at the
I
end
know
of
I was.
that fight. Yeah. After everybody saw what they did, then everybody else was able to down that boss.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you gotta watch the competition, see what they did, try and get at least second place. But the people who did get second and third place were 2 Chinese guilds.
Interesting.
That's the bigger story, I think, because for
Yeah.
years, and
Yeah, we talked about that a couple episodes ago, right? They had that bounty that's been up for a while.
and I believe it's still going on in terms of them getting first.
I found out it's actually the company that's partnered with, was it like Tencent or something out there, right? Like that company is the one that's doing, it's like an official, like, I'm the company running World of Warcraft in this region. They're the ones that players look to in the same way that we look to Blizzard,
Right.
right? And they are the ones who are putting up the cash money for those prizes. And they've been like upping, they've just been adding to the pot for like a while. Now there's like a lot of money and a lot of attention on there. It's just a very strange thing to do from the perspective of them. But yeah, they've got a lot of stuff going on over there.
Yeah, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised as it goes up, as well as the fact that Blizzard and its Chinese partner made peace with each other. That
NetEase.
right?
Yeah.
That we are going to see that eventually. Where they probably will be neck and neck with Echo and Liquid.
Well, I mean, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, they had gotten a sort of late start because of the way that their lockout is, right? And so getting world first was a little bit harder for them, but they still pulled second and third.
Right. But still, that's incredible.
It really is. And the players in these guilds they just moved over to Taiwanese servers, had brand new characters, brand new accounts, leveled them all up, and just continued to play the game, didn't take a break. And then when it came back, then they switched back over to Chinese servers, either restarted those accounts or started new ones and just got right back into it. And these people just like rebuilt their guild over and over again just to keep playing the game. And the dedication that they have to this, I mean, it shows. It's really impressive to see them come in like this for the second and third. But still, that first place prize is up there. Do you? I want to ask you: is it Vel? Do you think that Blizzard should maybe like bring some sort of cash prize to this instead of just kind of pointing at this cool thing that's happening with their game?
Uh, I mean, they already making a lot of money just from doing the race.
Yeah, with
But
sponsorships and such, right?
oh yeah, sponsorships like all the Twitch, like they get donations all the time while they're doing the race to world first on Twitch and stuff. And
Okay.
they have an ad like every 30 minutes or something. Like their casters will come up and they'll talk about what what their donations will get you, and like you can donate like I looked at it one day, and you can donate like $25, and they'll put your character with your mog up there on their stream while they're doing the race to world first. You tip another certain, or you donate another amount. You can post a picture of your animal, and they'll put your cat or your dog up there, whatever. It's all just random little promotions that people
And people do it. They're out there just
people
streaming, just
donate, and they're
buying.
like, hey, yeah, put my character up on this race to world first.
That's insane. I mean, when I was watching the stream, I did notice for Liquid, it was just like it was a non-stop stream of people just subscribing. And like, so, it's like every few seconds you're just getting another like $10 or something. So yeah, they swept the floor with that, and I guess their plan is to go and do the mythic splits. Did you guys have any predictions for who's going to get the world first on Belloran and on Laura? We'll start with you, Shaq. You got any predictions who's going to get that?
I think Liquid. I don't know. I mean, it's
Even
an
with the
easy.
first day doing mythic splits,
Yeah, yeah. I
they'll
think.
still. You think it's going to be a long time for Belloran?
I think Belloran. Well, Belloran, I think is going to get. Well, from what Max said, he's not too worried about them getting another guild getting Bell first.
Okay, so maybe
Um,
method.
right, yeah. Right. I think maybe well, it might be one of the Chinese guilds. I don't know, bro.
Right?
I haven't been watching like I did last race. So I haven't watched these Chinese guilds or anything. And I haven't watched any of Echo or Methods streams. But I've been too busy just doing my own M pluses, to be quite honest. But and maybe next week I will watch it come Tuesday, just because it is the end just to see what happens there. I think Team Liquid is definitely, they're going for the last boss, right? They're worried. They're really gearing and strategizing for that last boss primarily, because that's ultimately the main winner, right?
I think that was probably the part that I really enjoyed about the Liquid stream, and I'm sure that the others do it as well because the Liquid stream also had commentators, but there would be a break from those commentators, and it would kind of just focus on the gameplay, and in the gameplay, like whoever the raid lead is, or there's like several people, but the camera was on, like they were like actively talking about, like kind of reasoning through what these mechanics could be and what could be happening. There's raid wide damage going out, and they're trying to figure out what to do with the arrows. And if you're like paying attention to what they're saying and kind of what the teammates are saying, there's I mean, they're working it out live, and It's such a cool way to see the mythic fight. I really can't wait for our guild to get there this season.
Also to add to that, when I was watching one of Max's videos, he was going a little bit into the add-ons and stuff like that, and that they're still able to do quite a bit of extra add-on work, even with the limitations that Blizzard has given them. And I don't quite know like the full extent of that, but it sounded like
They
definitely
basically
the
have a poor
programmers were still
man's like Weak Wars.
Right. They're programmers and stuff, which they
Yeah.
just have on deck can still create
Smart.
some smart things for them. Yeah.
Dude, that's such a good idea. I mean, with the amount of money that you get, like, why wouldn't you hire like 2 or 3 programmers to just bust out some Lua code, which is easy to
Right.
do?
Yeah, it was especially necessary for the paladin fight, um, uh, just because of all the decursing and whatnot.
Yeah, that was that was probably the hardest fight of the raid, right? Like, this was like the longest that all the guilds spent on was the paladin fight.
Yeah, I think theirs was like 52 or something like that. Let me see if I can double check on that. Yeah, 52 pools. Whereas, amazingly, Crown of the Cosmos was only 35.
Yeah, 35. Very low. The fact that they got to second phase in the first pool, I was like understanding that it's not the last boss of the season of the tier or whatever, right? It's the last boss of Voidspire. I kind of expected over 50. It's I'm not sure how many pulls it took other people, but people did figure it out after they killed it, so like probably not as much. Because people were still catching up to them.
Right.
All right, so one more bit of news before we move on into some of these topics about Microsoft. We have a music concert coming up, and I believe actually one of our guildmates, Ragus, our raid lead, was talking about going to one of these dates. There's a Los Angeles date on September 10th, and I believe that's like really close to BlizzCon, right? Because
Yeah,
BlizzCon was
2 days before BlizzCon.
Oh, geez.
so yeah, you could just be there a little early.
Yeah,
And
once I saw the dates, I was like, maybe I'll get there on Thursday instead.
yeah, that's pretty interesting. You thinking about going down? You're going to BlizzCon as well, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Yep.
cool. I'll see you there.
Yeah.
What is a concert? Is this like a Games Live concert or something?
It's orchestral, I believe, and it's going to cover classic to Dragonflight.
Yeah. So
Okay.
they did it in Europe heck last year, I want to say like maybe during the summer last year.
For
Oh,
one show, right? And it was really
yeah,
popular.
they did a couple, I think maybe 3 total. And it was just all across Europe. Like in 3 different places across Europe. And it was, from what I saw of it, it gave me chills cuz like a friend of mine recorded the Arthas part of it,
Blizzard
right?
released it on YouTube, I believe. Oh, the
Yeah.
whole concert.
Well, before Blizzard released it on
Oh,
YouTube and all
okay.
that. But a
well, they
friend of mine
released it during the
recorded
20th. Yeah.
yeah. A friend of mine recorded the Arthas part, the actual Arthas fight, and it shows like footage from Ice Crown, and it shows like part of the cinematic from like going into Ice Crown, like when you're get like the Arthas cinematic, like way at the end where it just kind of like pans in on him up on Ice Crown Citadel.
Yeah.
Like it showed all that stuff, and it just watching the video gave me chills, and I'm like, man, I really wish I could go see this.
I mean, I remember watching it when Blizzard had released the video on their official channel,
The
and
20
it
years
was
of music.
yes,
Yeah.
it was so iconic. I love all of those songs, and I have the amount of time that I've spent listening to the login screen music,
Oh yeah.
I I totally did not shed a tear when I watched that.
Yeah, not at all.
Not at all.
Not even a little bit.
Dude, it was really good. I'm pretty excited that they're doing a tour.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
that I'll go to LA early because then that would mean like 2 more days away from my child, and I'm gonna try to narrow it down to like as little time as possible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. I would have to convince the friend of mine that I'm going with, like, hey man, let's go there a day early so we can go to this 20 years of Warcraft concert.
I mean, you're
Because
already going to BlizzCon. That's right in your
I know
right up your
good and
alley.
well he won't want to.
Oh man.
Yeah, I would imagine anybody going to BlizzCon this year would it's probably a quite a neat experience to go to if you've got the time and the money to check it out. If I could, I would definitely do it because I mean, just watching the one when they did their 20th year anniversary, where you just watch the show, it was like a 2 hour, show.
Yeah.
Man, it was like the feels, bros, the feels.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine watching it live.
I got a buddy that just moved to LA, up from like Washington and stuff, and he decided he wasn't going to go to BlizzCon because the ticket was $300, and he was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
man, it's kind of a lot. He was like, I'll think about it maybe next year, but I think I could probably convince him to go to this one, but then that would also mean like I don't know what I would do. I don't if I would like stay back for one day or like come in like 2 days early or like go down there just for the concert, come back up. And then go back down there for BlizzCon because I don't know that I would want to stay down there, 4 days. I grew up in LA and
Right.
I want I'm good.
Understandable.
Yeah. I've only been to that side of the world once. And that was in the army, so.
Oh, you were stationed on the West Coast? West Coast, best
No,
coast.
I got sent to San Diego for a month just to do overwater training.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I had a bunch of friends who were in San Diego, and I had a few Marines that were in the. It was a base that was like north of San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, that all the Marines hang out at, or not hang out at, but they work at, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had a few friends that were like in the area, or like really, familiar with that, and my sister's husband, he's like in the Navy, and he's down there too. There's just like a whole bunch of people just going through San Diego. But okay, so that leads us into our final news item. I wanted to cover some news on Microsoft. We had mentioned earlier some of the things they were doing with Xbox gaming, and then we've got this deal that they'd signed with Netflix. So it's very likely that we're gonna have maybe not a full like integration with Netflix, but Netflix I imagine is going to be very prevalent like as an app, like maybe just like already pre-installed on whatever this new Xbox experience is going to be, right? And they seem to be focusing a lot more on this sort of subscription model of getting players to go into Game Pass and pay for that as opposed to just buying a game, right? I think for a while they've been pushing certain games that they have within their ecosystem to launch on Game Pass. So day one, you can just play it on Game Pass instead of playing it, and I believe those games typically stay there. There's a lot that could end up happening with Blizzard in terms of the direction that Microsoft is going, right? Because now that Microsoft owns Activision and Blizzard, right? There's an obvious thing here where anything that Sharma is going to change at a high level, we can see how some of those things might trickle down. But so far, what we've seen in what Microsoft has been able to do for Blizzard has been kind of scale things up, really put more money into the company, have them spend more money on animations, right? They're paying these other studios to do these things. They're making music. They're collaborating with several different types of people. They're authors, artists, composers, right? There's a lot of things going on with Blizzard, and I think as a prediction from seeing kind of the way these things are happening, that we're gonna get Blizzard as this sort of centerpiece for Microsoft Gaming, right? It's just such a good example of pulling in revenue for Microsoft Gaming division that I think that they want to, you can kind of see in some of the rest of their decisions, they're moving things towards this subscription model. Blizzard already does that really well. So I know that a lot of players are worried that they're going to change up our $15 a month price that we've been paying for a long time and try to make us pay Game Pass or do something like that. But I think what World of Warcraft and what Blizzard is doing with their games, they're doing it really well, and it might end up being the model that uh, Microsoft uses for the rest of their IPs. What do you, Templar? You got any thoughts on that?
That's the hope, the thing that we're hoping for. Um, and I think you're right about Blizzard being more of a centerpiece. I mean, we've seen like ZeniMax Studios sort of faltering, and I know that the studio that owns, and I can't remember, I think they're separate from ZeniMax, but the ones who did the Outer Wilds, um, that one, there was recent news that unfortunately it didn't meet sales expectations, but it doesn't seem that Blizzard is, really having all that much trouble, which is always a good sign. And we're also seeing that even Epic Games recently said that Fortnite isn't doing too well, and they're just losing not only a lot of money, but because of that, they've already slashed 1,000 jobs and are going to be slashing more in the future. So the only, I guess, thing that I would be sort of worried about, it's not so much Game Pass itself, it's that it does serve a sort of revolving door on a lot of the games that you don't necessarily own them. For example, um, I know stuff like the more recent Battletoads game was on there, and I think it got removed, and it's sort of in flux. But then there's games like Call of Duty, which um, they wanted as a staple of Game Pass, but they had to remove it or otherwise tweak it because it was losing. They were losing too much money on people not buying the whole game. So but I think the way World of Warcraft, you already buy the expansion and then you pay a monthly fee and stuff. We don't have to worry about that. But
And if you pay the monthly subscription, you automatically get access to everything before the current expansion,
right, exactly.
right? Like it's a really good model, and we've had it for a while.
And we've seen that it benefits us in, getting used to the new systems like housing or I believe whenever hero talents were sort of coming out, we could give them a test drive. And of course, we have beta and PTR that helps too, and just having the feedback. So it doesn't really worry me all that much. But more to your point again, I haven't really heard anything bad about Blizzard and their finances recently. So yeah, them being the poster child of what they want, I can definitely see that.
They've done it well for so long. I don't see why you would really want to change that. I mean, I think WoW is one of the very few games that has the subscription model and does well. A lot of games have had to come out, as free to play, but then they have a weird store or whatever is going on. I think their current model, like you said, or Squirrel, like it's very newbie friendly as well. You can just buy the original World of Warcraft,
You can play to
pay
20
the
for free.
subscription, and then you can play the 20
You
for
get
free.
flying at 10. You get a lot. You get access to a lot at 10. You get access to dungeons at 15. And you get 5 more levels to just kind of like play around and enjoy the game. You can play through every single one of the classes before you ever commit to anything. Find something that you like, then pay the subscription. That'll bring you all the way up to right before whatever everyone else is playing. And if you think that you really like it, then you buy the current expansion. Maybe you're a little bit close to the release of the next expansion. Wait 2
Right.
months and then buy the next one.
That's
And
it's an amazing amount of content. Like
absolutely, dude, for $15 a month, insane.
it's 20 years. It's 20 years of
Yes.
content.
You can't
I
beat
actually
that
had
deal.
some real life friends start playing the game back in November, and I told them exactly that. I was like, y'all should just pay the subscription, pay the $15 right now, get yourself into the game, play it for a bit, see if you like it, and then if you do, all you got to do is buy midnight.
Yep.
Because once you get midnight, like back in January, February, when you bought midnight, you got War Within stuff too. You
And
didn't
you
have
can
to
play
worry about
classic.
buying War Within. So they obviously enjoyed it. They're playing not right now, but they have been playing it.
Yeah, and the subscription, like you were saying, Shaq, it comes with classic, right?
Yeah, you get classic, you get
Yeah.
Seasons of Discovery, you get all that
Anniversary
extra like
edition,
versions. Yeah,
classic
man.
hardcore. I love classic hardcore.
Yep.
I still haven't hit 60, but I mean, I keep dying, but there's just this thing with the community there. They're all really supportive, right? Like I immediately log out, delete the character, make another character, right? Keybinds and all the stuff. It's all still the same because I use the same name. And then I hop back into chat. I ask for an invite to the guild, and the first response from everybody is, "We go again." And it's just like his name was Robert Paulson. It always feels like that, Somebody dies and there's this weird chant that the group is saying. But it's fun, it's enjoyable. I think it's the most suspenseful WoW has ever been, outside of Mythic rating, right? But for hardcore, it's kind of like always. It's just really interesting,
For sure.
and that's for free with the subscription. Yeah, I love that about the subscription models that we have. I think we're in a really good place. I think the changes that Microsoft's making and the moves that they're doing. Even if, let's say, something happens, there's like economic decline, we don't have a lot of money going around, gaming divisions everywhere are like faltering. Blizzard is still going to be around. Blizzard is still going to be fine, right? Like I feel like they're just like a really good, stable revenue source.
Right, exactly.
It helps that they got revenue all across the world too.
Yeah, their
And just
deals
because,
that they've
like,
done
we
with the
might be in
China.
an economic decline over here, but Europe and China might not be.
Yeah. So having those extra markets in there. I mean, there's so many players in China, like losing that market was detrimental to, the overall amount of money that they're making every year.
Oh yeah.
I mean, one last bit of news, just kind of speaking on the Chinese servers and such, right? There's been a lot of controversy. One, I think there was an initial one where there was an actual trailer that had been released for a set of mounts that you could get. I think on the shop you could buy them, or maybe it was in game somehow, but it was only for Chinese servers. And again, this goes to the same company that's at the head of the Chinese World of Warcraft over there, and they are basically like, they got these digital assets. They've imagined that they funded it themselves. They paid for these models, and then they put those models in the game, and they've got some sort of contract that allows them to do that. There was there was a swimsuit that was sold on their marketplace that was Chinese exclusive, couldn't get it anywhere else. And there was like, maybe for some of the transmog that was in the that was on the characters, like, okay, that's someone that's kind of cool. But it was the hat. It was an absolutely brand new, unique model. It was a huge hat. I mean, it looked very, very cool. But players had reported seeing that hat on an NPC in Silvermoon. So I still haven't found that NPC yet, but at least we know that the 3D model is being used in the game here in North America, right, and the rest of the world. So I'm interested to see if like perhaps in time we get that model. But so far, the things that the Chinese servers have gotten have remained exclusive, and I don't know that I like that because that hat did look really cool. And I kind of would like the opportunity to buy something like that if that was because it was for sale, you know.
Yeah.
And one of the newer things that they've gotten are titles for taking new players through Mythic Plus dungeons. So if you do like 10 of them, and the requirements for it is that the player has to have not has to have less than like 10 or so, or a certain number of timed Mythic Plus runs, like at like a certain level. And so over the course of like, they sort of have like this thing like planned out for some of the lower dungeons, some of the higher dungeons and such. And if basically if you were to take somebody who's like kind of new to it, and you were to just take them all the way through the whole thing, all the way up to like Mythic 10s or 12s or something, and you're getting like 10, I think at each level it's like 10 successful timed runs, you're getting like these cool titles. And one of them, I think in English it says like the immortal or something, or the undying or something like that, but in Chinese and whatever the written language they have, the translation for it is more roughly um it's like immortal for 1,000 lifetimes, which
Interesting.
I would that's like the last title, right? Like I would definitely want that title.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say, well, the as far as the special mounts and stuff are concerned, the biggest issue wasn't so much that they were custom or that they were just exclusive to the Chinese. The problem is that people, uh, I think, still have a right to be worried, is that they were distributing them through gambling, and it was one of those gotcha mechanics. And similar to how we've discussed, or I think it was just you guys discussed with Hearthstone.
Oh, the Hearthstone.
Yeah,
Yeah, with the
right.
pet, where like it's very, very likely that 95% of the people who got that pet had to buy all like 7 chances. So like $120.
Yeah,
Like, bro,
and
be
it was
real.
for, four of those mounts, and I'd have to look up the article, but it was,
Well, I don't want
yeah,
that.
exactly.
I would like the models, but I don't want that.
Exactly. So as far as, that part is concerned, that's what we don't want. What we do want, and I think a lot of people, including myself and probably everybody here, wanted, were those cool Voltron like mounts and everything.
They did make it look like Voltron, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
And it was like an animation that they had like released for it, and I was just like, this is over the top and ridiculous.
Back when like China first got World of Warcraft back, they had this like solar phoenix thing, and
Yes,
it looked beautiful. It was like the oh
Ashes of
god,
Valar.
that mount out of oh god, Firelands.
Yeah.
Oh, the
The fire
Firehawk.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Firehawk. It was that thing, but it had like all these like ribbon tassel things coming off its wings and its tails, and they were all on fire, and it just looked wonderful. And then I saw how they were getting it, and I'm like, oh no, no.
You have to wonder what kind of a licensing deal that Blizzard has with NetEase, and NetEase being, publisher developer
They have a
itself, but
large market,
they
so I imagine, right? Yeah.
they probably have artists on deck as well that could possibly be producing these models for their version of the game, with Blizzard's go ahead, say so.
Oh yeah.
Plus their culture for the gambling type of thing, microtransactions, I think is it's a lot bigger over there,
Hmm.
in on that side of the world, so they're kind of used to it, whereas we really shun from it, really do not like it. People get really upset about the whole thing. That's why I think like games like Diablo Immortal didn't do too well, because it was kind of that pay, little microtransactions all over the place.
So the little thing that they were talking about was the crates, right, for getting that mount. Now, each crate costs
Mm-hmm.
about $27, depending on how many you purchase at once. Though, with the interesting twist that players can team up with up to 9 others to earn team credits, earning extra boxes from each of their team members' purchases. The 8 potential prizes from these crates are as follows. There was a golden Ashes of Alar, literally Ashes of Alar, but like a slightly golden, like, and like kind of different coloration of it, right? Like it's pretty close, but it's like, is that like a light infused like Ashes of Alar? Like what's going on here? And it's
Mm-hmm.
exclusive to them. I didn't even know about that. Um, yeah, and then they got a couple of ratings of the Spectral Tiger, X51 Nether Rocket Extreme, and just then the Nether Rocket Sandbox Tiger, which is the toy, and then Papa Hummel's Old Fashioned Pet Biscuit, and then Path of Scenarios, those little flowers that will fall behind you. So, a couple of these things, I think most of these are just like repeats, things that are already in the
Of
game, but you're
TCG,
able to
yeah,
get
stuff.
them from.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, these are TCGs, Reigns of Spectral
The
Yeah,
Tiger.
the
Cenarian one,
biscuits, the
yeah.
biscuits are definitely TCG. Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, they're pulling from TCG. I mean, we've seen Blizzard do that in the recent anniversary for the Trading Post, right? One of those one of those vendors had a hippogriff, I believe.
Yeah, I think it
Right.
was the Burning Hippogriff.
Yeah. And so here we see, some TCG stuff, but there's this unique model of the golden ashes of Alar, and then of course the this blazing what do they call it? Oh,
Yeah,
blazing
the
royal
Blazing Royal
firehawk.
Firehawk. Yeah.
Dude, it does look really cool. It looks amazing. I think that's great. But yeah, having to kind of like team up with like 8 other people in this weird gambling thing, I don't know that I would like that. But it's obviously working for them. I'm sure that it's like pulling in a lot of revenue. That
Yeah.
might be another reason why Blizzard's okay with it, you know? Because I imagine, I don't know what the psychology of it is there, but maybe it's like, look, you are the only market on the planet that gets this Firehawk. You can't get it anywhere else. The only way is to do this weird loot system and pay for it, and people are just eating it up.
Yeah, it's just the culture is different over there as well. Yep.
Yeah, and we do know because WoW had I can't remember what the article was this week, but it was discussing that and the Chinese market, and they did confirm that it does go through Blizzard. Like they don't have complete autonomy or anything, but if they do add those mounts and stuff, they do have to check in with Blizzard, and Blizzard does have to agree to it.
Right.
Well, that makes sense. That's good. Good to
By the
know.
way, I would love some Papa Hummel's old fashioned pet biscuits because I had them when I had the card, right? And I used the code from the card, and I miss them. I think that would be like a cool addition for them to bring back in the in-game the traders post.
Yeah,
I think
honestly, I see that
something like
happening more.
biscuits would be
We already
dope.
got the
Yeah.
hippogriff. I think we can expect to see more of those things be pulled in. And really, just imagine um, pulling something like that in and throwing it on some like housing vendor or something, right? Like when they start putting pets in houses.
Right.
You know,
Right.
I feel like they're definitely going to pull some of those TCG items in. I mean, they already brought in the El Pollo Grande into Pandaria Classic, so right, like we're just seeing it all over the place. I think you can expect to see it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we are gonna wrap up. So I wanted to cover some of the support and socials, but I did actually want to mention the guild recruitment. Right, we are still looking for players. I think in some of the latest runs that we've gotten, if we could get some more range DPS, that would be great. So if you're range DPS, you're really interested, go ahead and apply. I believe we're in an okay position for healers, but it's always great to have more healers on deck, right? The plan is if we've got more roles than we can fill, and our players aren't flexed, then we've just got opportunities like bench people and like move people in and rotate people in because but we haven't gotten to that to that position yet. So again, we are still recruiting. And even this last week, our tank took a week off, and so we had one of our other players flex and play tank for us. And so, whatever roles that you think you can provide, it'd be interesting to take a look at those resumes. So get those in. You can join the Discord, and there's a channel in the Discord for joining Second Attempt. You drop your character name, server name, your Raider IO link, and we'll take it from there. The
We
best
are also
way.
listed on Warcraft logs as well, and you can
Oh,
contact
awesome!
us through
Yeah,
that. My battle tag is on there, so you can private message me if you need to.
great, fantastic. So that's another opportunity for you if you want to try to apply to the guild. That Warcraft log is also where we have our. That's where Templar posts the logs for each week,
Yes,
right?
sir.
For our
Yep.
performance. Okay, so yeah, you can take a look at our guild on Warcraft logs. You'll be able to see very consistent rating schedule, which probably not going to see from a lot of other guilds. We raid all the way to the end of the expansion, the end of the season, so you can expect pretty active guild all the way through all the content. So definitely look us up. Um, and if you want to support the show, best way is through our Patreon. Every bit helps us keep the lights on, improve the production, and keep this going every week. That link is patreon.com/last attempt pod. And if you can't spare the gold, that's totally fine. You can still help in a big way at no cost by heading over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and dropping a 5-star rating and a review and tell us how you like the show, what you think about it. Go ahead and make sure to share that with any of your guild mates. You think that we covered some interesting news here. We've got a great perspective. You just kind of like the podcast. Definitely think about sharing it with people. It's probably the best and biggest way that you can help support the show is to get it out to other people. Um, our username on Twitter or X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube is at Last Attempt Pod. So it's that username on all of those platforms. And we will always have a Discord link in the description at the bottom. So like before, like we've said before, Shakatan, he's got the Twitch that he's streams on sometimes, occasionally, but where you can find some of his content is on what was the website? I forget. It's a music website, right?
Oh, SoundCloud.
SoundCloud. Yes. Wow, I'm so unfamiliar with that.
Yep.
I've never used it. I forgot completely. But yes, we're gonna have the link for that in the bottom there. But yes, why don't you tell the people about that link where they can find you?
Just soundcloud.com/diggyspiff. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I still need to put some more music up there.
You were
I'll say
putting
that
it
every
right.
week.
You had some
It'll
stuff
get
coming
up
in.
there. Yeah. I got some stuff on the pipe.
Nice. Yeah, can't wait to hear that. Once you get that, you're gonna have to update us on the podcast. That way our listeners can head right over
For
and take a
sure.
listen to those. And Templar, you've got a nice, easy to spell URL for us,
Yes, sir.
right?
I stream our raids every night that we do them, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Um, and it has, I always get this a little bit confused because I'm on East Coast. Um, on East Coast time, it is about 12:30 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. And I believe that's 9:30 to 11:30 Western. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're
Yes.
Okay.
correct.
And you can either go to twitch.tv/Templar Ivanhoe, or the easiest way is to just type in thehumandistraction.com, and then I'll take you right to my Twitch page, and that's all one word. So yeah, come check us out.
All right. And Val, do you have a Twitch that you stream on?
I do, but I haven't streamed in months,
Same. Same.
and I don't plan on it until I finish getting my game room set up.
Okay, all right. So yeah, you know what? Make sure you come back onto the podcast once you got that all set up. Sounds. You know what? I stream every now and then, so I'm gonna plug mine right now. But like, I also need to do what you're doing and get my room set up because
Yeah.
all of my stuff is on my desk in front of me, but there's nothing on the walls behind me, and I got to do something about that. That way, the thumbnail looks really cool.
It's the one thing about buying a house. My game room's pretty much empty right now.
Ah, dude, yeah. I've got a bookshelf, and it's like mostly empty. It's like I haven't moved anything into this thing.
Yeah. Hell, I have a box of stuff just sitting in the corner, just waiting for when I get a shelf.
Oh, yep. Pain's
Like
moving.
all whole bunch of Legos are sitting on the floor next to me.
Oh,
Like
next to you can collect Legos.
Yeah, I got one in here that's older than half the people I work with, actually.
Nice. That's Legos are a little rich for my blood. So, I like to enjoy it from afar, and I like to watch other
Yeah.
people enjoy them. um, all right, and so of course my Twitch I haven't been on in the last couple of weeks. I've been like focusing on just a bunch of other stuff. But once I get Aowen up and running, and she's doing mythics and run raid with the guild, I'll be on the streaming again. Like I said, I've got to make the walls behind me look a lot cooler than they currently are. They're just white walls, and I gotta decorate them or something. I gotta go find some like cool horde shield or something to put up on the wall. But until then, you can find me at twitch.com/squirrelthug_. And yeah, that'll be us. Thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate you all listening. And again, make sure you share this with your friends. Thanks for coming, to our co-hosts and our guests. Thanks, Val. I really appreciate it. And yeah, that's it. Thanks. See you.
Laters.
Yep. Take care.
Later.